So the first thing is making sure that people know what privacy is and that you exist. It's important to get all the pieces of the puzzle together at once before you make your risk assessment. Marrying the two, GDPR and a program maturity framework, and then mix in some principles and all that kind of stuff, has been my approach.
Hello everyone, I am Sergio Maldonado and this is Masters of Privacy, a set of interviews covering the intersection of marketing, data, privacy and technology with a clear goal in mind, which is redefining the relationship between people, brands and media around transparency and control. Which is to say, we're aiming for real customer centricity, or if you will, human centricity. We regularly talk to DPOs, CMOs, CDOs and whoever else we find interesting and able to share valuable insights. So we hope you like it. Please do reach out if you have any ideas on future topics or speakers. Okay, welcome back. Before we start, a quick note to tell you that you can already register for our live recording session in New York City on November the 6th. Simply find it on mastersofprivacy.com under events. With that said, we are joined today by Meaghan Henderson. She started off as a litigation attorney in LA, moving on to deal with trust and safety operations at Snapchat's owner, Snap, and eventually landing at iRobot over 3 years ago, where she runs the privacy department as a single person. And that is precisely what we will talk about, how she has managed to relaunch a full privacy program, raise awareness, coordinate with other teams to audit third parties, and deal with AI, all of it while mostly remaining a one-woman show. Let's go for it. Meaghan, thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
How did you become a one-woman show here? How did you land where you are?
I laugh because I know that the person that hired me into this role is listening and will probably think this is very funny. I was not hired to be part of a one-person team. I was hired to be an analyst. So I actually was doing defense work, civil defense work, and worked a little bit in tech and had really been interested in privacy as a through line through my career. And I joined my current company as an analyst, but just given layoffs, acquisitions. I mean, if you know anything about iRobot recently, it's been quite a journey for our company. So I don't think any company wants a solo person as their privacy team, but I know that more and more often it's becoming a requirement or a necessity because of budget, because of resourcing, because of just interest or understanding of privacy. So it's something actually that had happened before before I was at iRobot. There had been a single person privacy team and it had started to grow and I was part of that growth and then it shrunk back down.
Got it. Okay, so then what is the biggest challenge?
Yeah, I think it generally is trying to prioritize. You know, with all the laws coming out globally and in the US, it feels like a new one pops up every single day. Trying to handle each one of those individually and all the requirements feels a lot like whack-a-mole. And it's a waste of my time to try to keep up with that all the time. I would spend all day doing that. So it's really about thinking, how do you build a structure that new laws fit into? So how do you take a principle approach? How do you take a broader approach to regulatory compliance, but also privacy program management that allows you to stay nimble and to ingest higher priority issues without having it derail your whole work, your whole stack of privacy to-do list?
So a challenge that I see is that it is you represent a consumer product in a space that is hard to understand for a lot of people. There's technology, but also there's the fact that it does a lot of things by itself. And it's quite magical, right? These robots need to know what's a sock, and they need to tell apart a sock from a human leg. And at the same time, they're
Yeah.
mapping an entire room and a house. And where is the threshold with personal data, right? And if people are placing a data subject access request or a data access request, where do you stop? Because this data that belongs to them, maybe none of this is personal. Maybe household data is personal as it relates to everyone in the household. How do you deal with that? First, to break it down into little pieces, make it digestible, because there's already a lot. How do you deal? Do you get a lot of people asking for the data? Do people understand? So in terms of transparency, do you struggle?
Yeah, so I mean, I want to disclaimer a little bit that I'm speaking on these are my own opinions and not the opinions of the company. So just want to put that out there. But iRobot really focuses on making sure that our consumers are educated about what data is being used, how it's being used. We have great teams internally that focus on security, anonymization. There's a lot of backbone and support for consumer protection at iRobot. Even if you read our privacy notice, we're very transparent. I mean, as we have to be, but as we also want to be, we are very transparent about how data is handled, what we're using, how we're using it. It does not benefit any company, I don't think, to hide from their consumers. I think it becomes a problem with consumer trust, with brand trust, especially as a consumer products. Speaking more broadly, if you mess with your consumers, you might not see immediate effects, but you will see effects. That is something that will cause problems, and we definitely subscribe to that as well. That there's no benefit to hiding from consumers. It's not a way to build that relationship. It's not a way to build consumer support and loyalty. So I think the transparency is such a key part of what every company should do, especially if you're in someone's home. I think there's so many products that it's important to be legible with what you're talking to. I've seen so many privacy policies where I read it and I'm a lawyer and my eyes glaze over. So being honest, being open, assessing the readability of what you're putting out there, those are all really important things that actually provide a business benefit. So I think that, we do our best to make sure that we're as transparent as possible.
Very good. Do you somehow map it? So and I'm talking about mapping your policies. So do you map your transparency efforts, your privacy notices to that impact on the brand or on perception? Is there some sort of, do you get some sort of, I don't know, even metrics, maybe that simplifies it too much, but some sort of feedback in terms of how people understand or how well they understand what you're doing?
That would be something that I would love to do if I wasn't a one-person team. Let's go back to the topic of this, right? Like, I think that is something that would be amazing to have the budget or even the team to support to have. I'm going off of the existing metrics that are in the market now. So looking at consumer reports or consumer insights that are already in place that say that consumers really do care about privacy. And you can actually look at Reddit and look up any brand on Reddit and you'll get a feel for how customers think about your product and what the privacy feels like for them. So I'm using what's publicly available because that's the resources that I have for right now.
Yes, it's always going to have a ripple effect, and it's going to have a big, especially if something is bad, that propagates fast, right? If it's good, it's harder to come by. Okay, so very good. So now you've got this, and AI is coming. So you're dealing with a privacy program, and you need to make sure that across all of these jurisdictions, you're able to comply. That's already hard enough. You need to be ready for data breaches, which also change across jurisdictions. And now you've got AI. Do you take on that as well? And to what extent?
I am part of the AI governance committee at my current company, and it's made up of a bunch of different stakeholders. It's primarily run by our information security team, and we created our Gen AI usage policy 63 days after ChatGPT was introduced in the market. So we're a pretty early adopter in terms of AI governance. We're really excited about the idea. I mean, I'm personally very excited about the idea of what AI can do to support our internal teams, especially as a one-person team. Like, where can we use this in a way that's going to help us be more productive, that will help us mitigate? You listed the requirements like breach, like AI, right? Having something like that available. I know a lot of privacy tools are coming out with AI. It's something that privacy needs to be inherently involved in, and I have been from the beginning, which is great.
Do you concentrate on your products and how they use AI, or on the internal use that people do, for example, of Gen AI to produce documentation?
So anything related to the product in terms of AI, machine learning was really handled before my time because it's inherent in the product. The Gen AI more generally is something we are looking at internally, and we have developed processes around, and we're really excited about that innovation.
Very good, thank you. Yes, it makes sense that language models don't have that much of a role in the product.
No, not really.
Good. Okay, very good. So you're doing both, right? The strategy of thinking besides the AI and so on, but both helping the company embrace privacy by design, right, or privacy principles, and at the same time helping people in the exercise of their rights. Is that correct?
I would say that my role is more closely related to a DPO than a CPO. I am more akin to a data protection officer. While I do wear both hats, I'm very careful about where that intersection is and how to not overstep that line. I'm personally very excited about being a DPO. It's a role that I'm really fascinated and interested in because I have a personal background as a defense attorney. So I kind of feel like I get to step into that role as a DPO, and it's really fun for me. So I love interacting with consumers. I think that's a really, really important piece for me. And I actually think that I'm a better asset to the company because I have that in mind. Really keeping the consumers in the front of my mind and how we approach things, especially because consumer products are a very passionate point of interest for a lot of people. And so I think it's important to make sure that I'm really focused on what they need, what they're asking for, what's important to them. And then business advisory, I do step into that, but I would say it's more of a secondary role. It's most of a focus on the DPO side of things.
Okay, very good. So then you start dealing with more things. Beyond this, you need a framework, right? So you've defined a policy internally that people respect. You may have to maybe train some teams so we all speak the same language, right? And then you need to start developing these notices that we were talking about. So telling people what you do. So is there a specific framework that inspired your policy or policies? I don't know, some people just love FIPS, the Fair Information Practice Principles. Some people follow NIST. Some people follow, the OECD. Some people follow a specific law as their guiding principle, just the GDPR. Is there a framework that you particularly like or that has represented the backbone of your policy?
So the way we've applied privacy, the way I've applied privacy is looking at picking a standard that's pretty high in terms of compliance focused, and then applying that across all jurisdictions and then adjusting for any small nuances. So something like the GDPR, complying with a law that has that much interest, has that much oversight and specific information about it, or specific regulatory requirements. That is created a backbone for our compliance framework. And then if we're looking at program maturity more generally, we apply the ISO 27701. But I also use the generally accepted privacy principles, the GAP. So I've kind of combined the ISO, the GAP, GDPR into a program maturity. So that is the nice thing about the GAP 5-point scale is really easy to show people what it is and what it looks like. It's a great framework. I think that it has helped visualize where we are and what the risks are for everybody at our company. So I think marrying the two, GDPR and a program maturity framework, and then mix in some principles and all that kind of stuff, has been my approach.
Thank you. People love metrics and also people love progress, which is what ISO is built on, right? So that every year you're showing some evolution. You're doing something that builds on what you did before, so you feel like you're always moving forward. That's very ISO.
Yeah, that's why using that 5-point scale is great, because it really simplifies it. And there's a way to I've created a dashboard's not the right word, but I've created some calculations that are able to show us that increase over time based on that 5-point scale. I added
scorecard.
Yes, kind of a scorecard. And the thing that I found to be the most important was really diving into what is not important to our company. Like, these frameworks have so much in them, and I love that. I think that every company can take something away from those frameworks, but it is important to customize it and to look at, is this part actually meaningful to what the work is that we're doing here, and then adjusting your scale accordingly. So getting to a total 5 out of 5 in every single category, while that might be ideal, it's probably not realistic or even necessary for most companies. So figuring out where you fall to is really important.
Yeah, very good. Okay. Then another front, third-party risk management. Does it take a lot of your time?
Yes and no. It depends on what we're trying to do as a company. Bigger risks, bigger things, bigger innovations take a lot more effort from a procurement perspective. There are times where we feel like we're in a pretty stable state. We don't need new people. We don't need new vendors. Or the vendors that we do need are less risky from a privacy perspective. In that situation, then I would say that it ebbs and flows. So, but when it is high, it does take up a lot of my time because of the risk associated with it. The important thing that I found is to really partner with your other teams. Like, my privacy review of a vendor can't happen in a vacuum. And when it does, I feel like I miss things. The important part of those risk assessments is to partner. So specifically with your security teams, but also with your architecture teams, your HR teams, your procurement teams, your sourcing teams. Because the data for these vendors is often harder to find than we would like it to be, and we need so much more transparency than is maybe publicly available, it's important to get all the pieces of the puzzle together at once before you make your risk assessment. If I were to just go to the business or go to even the vendor and ask for specific things, even if I was so detailed in my assessments, which a lot of vendors don't really want to fill out because of how extensive it can be and how time consuming. But let's say even if it was completed fully, I would still feel like I was missing something. So it's not until I talk to our other teams and see what the information they have and we're able to work together that I feel like we get a good picture of the risk. And then we're able to partner with the business to decide, is this risk worth it? And what do we need to do to mitigate that risk? How do we help the business innovate? We don't want to be a blocker. We want to be guardrails. And working together allows us to do that.
Well, you touched on the last thing I wanted to ask you, which is help. Yeah. How do you get help? Because there's internal help and external help. And you just one person, as we say. So I see two ways to survive. One, you train a lot of people internally in other departments so they help you. For example, I'm thinking of privacy impact assessments, where you collaborate with someone that really understands this one feature that will call for an assessment, or even external law firms, privacy consultancies. How do you see that little world? Do you rely on consultancies, law firms, internal teams? If I can ask you, what is the map of collaborators and assistants and help?
So the first thing is making sure that people know what privacy is and that you exist. I think the first thing that was important to me when I took over the program as a single person was making sure that almost everybody, if not everybody, knew my name, right? So making it personal, right? It's so much scarier to say, oh, I'm going to bring in privacy. You say, I'm going to ask Meaghan about a privacy question. That's been huge. I really think that that's made a difference to a lot of people. Um, Partnerships have been big, really knowing how to ask for help and when to ask for help, knowing how to prioritize, having a ton of transparency with leadership about where the gaps are, what you need. And we've also been very lucky to partner with some awesome vendors. Specifically, we have a company that serves as a privacy advising for us, where I'm able to do an unlimited number of calls with privacy experts and just talk and be like, oh my gosh, this is what I'm dealing with.
Therapy.
It is. It feels a little bit like privacy therapy, but really, I mean, I can't. I think the thing that is so important for me to make sure that gets said is it is so hard not to have somebody to bounce your thoughts off of. Right. You exist in a vacuum, and sometimes not having anybody that is so passionate about privacy the way you are, it's hard to be able to really bounce those ideas off of. So finding those places where that's possible, either in a vendor, in your outside counsel, in your co-teams that you educate or train, that's going to be such an important piece of doing this job well as a single person, is having someone that you can just say, I just need to talk this out. There's this new law and I'm confused. Let's talk it out. I think that's been the biggest thing.
My favorite thing is this idea that privacy has a name, Meaghan.
Yeah. You would, I mean, if you laugh, but it works. It really works. It takes away like the stress. Yeah.
Well, Meaghan, thank you very much. Thanks again.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay, that's all for today. You will find additional information about today's interview, the topics we've covered, and related prior episodes on mastersofprivacy.com. If you want to dive a little deeper into this particular interplay between privacy or data protection law and marketing, e-commerce or media, you can also join the Masters of Privacy Connect program. Hopefully, not to get more emails, but rather to get into our workshops and live sessions at no cost, as well as to gain exclusive access to some tools, ideas, summaries, or training materials that we believe can make your life easier. This program is available as a Substack subscription for now, but I would also like to encourage you to join our LinkedIn group or follow our Blue Sky feed if those are the platforms you prefer. Thank you for listening.